Good afternoon. I'm Jen Blandos. I'm the founder and CEO of Female Fusion Network. We are the UAE's largest community for female entrepreneurs. We've got a community of 30,000 female-owned businesses in the UAE. So we love everything around entrepreneurship and women in business. I'm going to be moderating today's panel session on women in finance, and I'm so delighted to have such a beautiful and impressive panel of speakers today. So today we have Lottie Lado, who's a senior advisor with C3, Salwa Alzami, who's the CEO and founder of SPL Solutions, who I think is no stranger since she was just up here. And we have Patricia Keating, who is the scale lead from PwC's New Ventures practice. So I am a big fan of letting everybody introduce themselves. We've got 30 minutes, so we're going to be tight on time today. So I'm going to ask all of my panelists to tell you a little bit about themselves. Lottie?
Thank you, Jen. It's an absolute pleasure to be here at Abu Dhabi Finance Week and sharing this panel with some incredible women. My name is Lottie Lado, and I'm here today as a senior advisor of C3. I actually am a strategic advisor to numerous corporates and startups in the MENA region on various aspects of business strategy, namely inclusion and diversity, impact, and sustainability. I come from a very corporate background, working across several countries in executive leadership roles and focused on business growth and expansion into MENAT markets. I've been based in Dubai for nearly 20 years, and prior to founding my own strategic advisory business, I was most recently the CEO of C3. C3 is a UAE-based social enterprise that supports entrepreneurs and startups to scale their growth and their positive impact into society. I am a committed advocate of advancing women in the workplace, and I serve on a number of advisory boards and committees, namely 30% Club MENA chapter, a business-led campaign to see at least 30% women across the entire management of an organization right through to corporate boards. And I'm also an advisor to TARA, a foundation that's bridging the gap between female university students and the corporate world, giving them access to role models and mentors in financial services. I co-chair the Women in Business at the Capital Club, and I'm a former board member of REACH, the first non-profit to focus on structured mentoring for female professionals in the region. Thank you.
Thanks, Lottie. Okay, Patricia.
Jen, why did you put me after?
I was such a high achiever.
Hi, I'm Trish.
Right?
How do I follow that? Hi, I'm Trish. I am the skill lead at PwC New Ventures practice. I am very fortunate to be the person that's on the ground working with the different ecosystem enablers, the different accelerators, the different members organizations, looking for the Middle East's fastest growing scale-ups that we could potentially deploy into our consultant engagements right across the region. So that's my kind of day job. I'll be talking a little bit about investment today. We'll talk a little bit about my role at 2022 Female Angels. As you can hear from my accent, I'm Irish. I will try to slow down. And that's me.
All right, thanks, Trish. Salwa.
Thank you very much, John, for today. I'm very excited to share the panelists with the great panelists here. I'm Salwa Zahmi, the founder and CEO of SPL Codes, the deep tech startups that I found as a spin-off of but successful research that I've been doing in one of our university here, Khalifa University. At the same time, I'm leading actually the software engineering research lab at Khalifa University IPTEC Research Center. I'm very delighted to be one of the champion of women actually in deep tech and technology in general, because I believe that we need to push more women to be in that sector, not because of gender bias, but I would say like we need the women workforce in designing our new intelligent systems, AI and those, so we need them actually. I'm very excited about today's discussions, and thank you very much.
All right, thanks, Salwa. Okay, we're going to get right into it. What we're going to do is have a couple of questions with the panel, and then we're going to throw out to the audience at the end of this. If any of you have any questions at the end, we'll take a couple of questions before we wrap up. So the first question that I have for you, Lottie, is I would like to know from your perspective what corporates can do to help female-founded tech companies or female entrepreneurs in general.
Thank you, Jen. Corporations are indeed a significant driver of the gender equality agenda, whether it be internally within the organisation or externally right across the ecosystem, from corporate venture capital to access to procurement, providing funding for much needed accelerator programs, access to expertise, whether it be for upskilling or access to role models, networks and mentors. As a former corporate executive myself, I know that startups are not always under our radar. We don't know how to access them, and they didn't know how to access us. Today, I'd like to focus on 2 points. Firstly, the importance of procurement for female startups or women founders, and secondly, the obligation of corporates to really give back through funding some of these incredible programs that exist out there. Procurement indeed is a very powerful way to boost sustainable revenue for any startup. And I believe that corporates should be creating an enabling environment to allow access to women founders to access this process. And more importantly, as corporates, they should be procuring more products and services from women-led businesses. There are a number of examples that stand out that have done exceptionally well in this regard, and I wanted to highlight some of the incredible work that mammoth corporate like Procter & Gamble are doing, where they have committed to advancing women's economic justice through their global chain by spending $10 billion on women-owned and women-led businesses throughout 2025. Now, this is 10 times the industry average, and I think there's a lot more corporates that can be following that lead. Amongst the way that corporates can really support this access to procurement is firstly by raising awareness of the unconscious bias. And they can do this in several ways, namely start by changing the questions that you are asking to eliminate gender bias during the interview stage with suppliers. Provide a very simplified access to startups to ensure that they can become a potential supplier for not only your corporation, but other companies within your group. At the end of the day, we all know the business case. So there is a clear business case which results in missing out on millions of dollars in revenue if you're not having access to a different voice at the table. And as we all know, you actually end up better serving your customers, your employees, and your communities when you do allow that diverse thinking and voice at the table, but give them a chance and listen to what they're actually providing. So if a startup is knocking at your door and you are a large corporate, have an open mind and be ready and willing to support, because quite often they have an innovative and disruptive solution to one of your own business challenges that you did not see as possible. And in particular, women founders, as we will hear later on the panel, and the statistics highlight that they're not the best at networking, and they're not going to be accessing the networks, whether it's because they don't have a friend who is a decision maker or head of procurement that they play golf with or that they have shisha with. This access must be an obligation for corporates.
Yeah.
And secondly, if I may, it's through funding, through collaborations, and through partnerships. There are some incredible accelerator programs out there that give so much to startups from all aspects of building their business and scaling their business. And I know in particular that at C3, we've been fortunate that 84% of winners of every program that we have run happen to be female founders, and there was no quota ever set. Without the support of corporates such as HSBC, Accenture, Engie, EGA, DMCC and others, we would not be able to deliver the programs that we do and give that access to women founders.
Absolutely. And, I just want to share one statistic with the audience before we move on to our next question. I don't know if you knew this, but globally, women-founded businesses are getting 1% to 2% of procurement opportunities. So that goes and shows right there that there's something that's not working within the system if female-founded businesses are not getting access to the opportunities. So those are really great points. Salwa, your business is focusing on deep tech, and it's an industry which is typically very male-dominated. Can you share your experience of working in this area?
Thank you very much, Joan. Actually, my startups is in a deep tech, and I just want to give explanation what is deep tech startups. It's usually the startup that is a spin-off of research finding or breakthrough that have done in universities. So usually these type of startups create a new market segment, create disruptive technology, innovative ideas, disrupt the norm. And the difficulty that I'm facing is not only that maybe because of the media, but actually because I am in this sector. Usually investor resist to invest in this startup because they see it as a heavy asset. You need to put some kind of R&D in it to stay competitive in the markets. And also, there is a lack of market study on these innovative technology. So even when you search about it, I mean, I remember when I was starting SPL in 2015, we was trying to say, okay, you don't need to migrate on a cloud like in a traditional way. You need to modernize the application before you go to the cloud. People wasn't ready for it 2015. They just want to move to the cloud. But then when we create the technology and start to need to create awareness, and we find like, no, there is a market actually in 2018, Accenture have actually announced that it is a disruptive year to be cloud native. And we were being ahead before. But when I was pitching this, actually upgraded to the level. People is resisting to that change. That why it's a layer of challenges in a deep tech sector. So hopefully, I think there is also another area of, because sometimes our innovation is tied to the university, the IP commercialization angle of it is very core. Because in a startups where mostly the investor, they want to see like the startup own their IP. And most of the time, the university doesn't be still tied to this IP, like through licensing or different models. There is a lack of commercial IP regulations, and they have to be put a little more earlier. So when the startup was able to secure sufficient fund, such issue will not hinder them from securing the investment and money is needed. So I would go along to those challenges, but I think SPL can be one of the first example coming up as a spin-off from R&Ds on our countries, and I hope that is really going to achieve the successful that I'm looking after.
Great, thanks, Salwa. Trisha, what's your view on the lack of diversity of female investors?
Well, I think both of my panelists have kind of touched upon stuff that I think is really important. You were talking about the types of questions that people ask different founders, and I don't know if anybody has seen Dana Kanzi's TEDx talk. Has anybody seen it about promoter and prevention questions? No? So if you haven't, I would definitely recommend that as your one action. Go and have a watch of that. She spent extensive time researching TechCrunch pitches and looking at this language about promotion language and prevention language. And she looked at the entrepreneurs to go, are women doing it to themselves? Are we doing ourselves a disservice? And no, they're not. They're actually men and women are using that language equally in their pitches. So then she looked at the investors, and she analysed 2,000 questions that investors, and I'm going to say both men and women, were asking male investors and, male entrepreneurs and women entrepreneurs. And 70% of the time, all the investors ask the men promotion-type questions, which evokes a promotion gains type answer. Exactly. When they were asking the same questions, they would turn around to the women and ask the same question and be like, Salwa, how are you going to protect that share? How are you going to keep that little sliver? So of course you're immediately into a defensive mode. But if I said to you, how are you going to grab a piece of that cloud? You'd be like, hey, I can tell you all this exciting stuff about the opportunity in the market. Why is it important? Because if you were asked those promotion questions, you raised 7x more than the people who are asked the prevention questions. Why is that important? Because it's only the women that are getting asked the prevention questions. So if we take gender out of it completely and just look at language, it's those types of things that are creating implicit bias.
We seem to have lost Patricia's microphone.
They don't want to hear from me.
Oh, there you go.
Is it because I'm speaking too fast? Possibly. But I think that's the main thing. Oh, I think it must be if I...
Yeah, but
Is
No.
it? Okay.
No.
For the women, and this is for Salwa, for the entrepreneurs that were savvy enough. Hello?
Oh yes, I'm louder. Yay!
Wow.
Woo-hoo! Let's hear the women in the room.
Yeah.
But if you were savvy enough to answer a negative prevention question with the promoter answer, you would actually then be raising 14x. So it's about two things. One, from an investor point of view, go and learn those words. Recognize yourself asking those types of questions of different entrepreneurs and challenge yourself on the types of questions you're asking that person and why. And then from the entrepreneur side, and this is also, again, without a gender lens, doesn't matter who you are, if you're getting a prevention question, recognize the term and answer it with a promoter answer, and you'll find that you'll actually progress. Apparently, according to the research, you'll be raising money in no time. So that's what I'd like to say about bias, and that's everybody. And I think
Yeah.
the same actually applies to the sort of the diversity element. I think
We were speaking
Flo
about
Flo
this.
was saying actually about women's businesses producing more returns above the market average.
Yeah.
And actually investors know that. Morgan Stanley did an extensive research 4 years ago, and 90% of the investors that they asked said that women will yield more than market returns. Yep, but in reality, they're still not investing. But there's lots of reasons behind that. There's not one silver bullet that's going to sort of address this. There's lots of lead bullets. One of those is that men do not see as many women-led pitches as they do men. And there's lots of reasons for that. And we have, as women founders and entrepreneurs, we need to own that. But the reason they're not seeing them is because their social circles are not diverse either. So if you're only surrounded by people that are like you, and this also goes to women as well.
Yeah.
Men see, I think 60% of men see women's pitches like fairly frequently. Nearly 100% of women see women's pitches frequently because we gravitate to women.
Yeah.
So we have to do what we need to do to actually get out in front of men and give you the opportunity to invest and see these opportunities. You need to think about the language you're asking us when you do see them. And you need to come and join different networks.
Yeah.
Go and jump into Female
Like mine.
Fusion, 2022
Actually,
Angels.
we do mixed networking
Yeah.
with the guys as well, because we recognize that too,
Yeah.
that you can't just network with women.
But it's not about doing the right thing, right? It's about making better decisions and actually getting better returns as a result of it, and not missing opportunities because you're not aware that you're doing it. And that's all women investors and men. So
Now, we are halfway through our session, and I've got 15 minutes, and we need to be able to fit in a few questions from the audience. So we're going to go to our second round of questions and kind of be a bit tighter on our answers. Salwa, the first question for this is you. I would like to know about how the tech sector can make it more attractive and inclusive for women, everyone in general, to make it more inclusive to reach their full potential.
Yeah, I would say for tech sector really to attract across gender, actually they have to first HR, human resource system has to be actually consider the talent is not based on gender, and that is very important. What I would say why we really want to evaluate based on the talent is because women needed actually in the design and implementation of these intelligent systems that include AI, robotics, and IoT. We need them in the design process because most there will be the consumer. So if you have designed this system from male perspective, when you go and sell it, it might not hit the market value that is really needed. So actually the technology will force you actually to have it there. And there are there is a very key problem that happens. A report like 2 years ago is like the AI systems was recognizing, and it was an AI system has been deployed in HR department, and it was recommending the CVs for an IT job. And he was discarding the female CVs and giving priority for male because the historical data, it tells that male is more prominent for that. So it's really a major problem, and I think like we need to have the HR systems really consider the hiring from primary perspective, from building skills and knowledge. I think any, despite if it is a woman or male, we need to have always be connected to the technology evolutions that happening. So training workshops should be given balance for everyone's. Again, one of more things very critical is we need to tell that the rotating of the projects. I mean, us as a tech expert, we don't want to spend a lot of years working on the same project because we want to get the opportunity to work on others. So the diversity and being able to touch on different technologies is one of the things that keep your employee. This retention in the so they don't leave your organization. So I would say like same as being applied for male should be also encouraging women to be in that as well.
Yeah. And it sounds like you just need to eliminate that bias, right?
Yes.
The gender bias, and more work needs to be done on that as well.
Exactly in HR. It was Amazon. Yeah, it was Amazon. And there is a lot of example where an deployed AI system was considering historical data where male was actually, and a very clear example, maybe when you was browsing Facebook or any kind of these social media, as a female, you might get advertised about housekeeping, being a model or other, because mostly women are for this type of job. But this is not fair. I mean, if there is kind of advertisement to be in a tech type of job, it should be actually spread across all. So the huge risk is that our AI system is inherit our bias and have to be corrected as soon as possible.
Excellent, great. Now, I've just noticed we've got 10 minutes left. That's what the conversation was going back and forth. So one thing I want to touch on really quickly is networking. You brought it up before about how women are saying that they feel that they're not getting access to opportunities because they're not getting access to the same networks that men are. Could I have both Trish and Lottie, could you touch on that a little bit? And Trish, let's hear your story.
Yeah, I'll start if you don't mind, Lottie, dear.
No, please.
So I'm only here in the region just over a year, and about 18 months ago I landed here in May 2021, and I decided at the beginning of the year that I would be living in the region and working by the end of the end of the year. So I came out and I was here for 4 weeks, and I just hit the ground, and I had 40 meetings in 4 weeks, and I was exhausted. And on my last meeting of my last day was the first meeting that I had with PwC, and that there's another story behind that. But what I'm trying to say is that was exhausting. I had to put my best self out there every single meeting. And in one of those meetings, I had activated the Irish Business Network, and Cormac Sheedy had kindly introduced me to Lottie. And I think what I'm trying to say is the story behind this is that like founders, you need to go in with that expectation that you're probably going to get a no, but you still need to give them 110% anyway, because you never know where it's gonna lead. And whilst I never hustled a job out of Lottie, I might still. I made a great connection, and that's led. Now we're full service. So I just messaged you on LinkedIn, didn't I, about 18 months ago?
Yeah.
Yeah, great story, Trish. Networking, irrespective of your gender, whether you're a woman founder or a male founder of a startup, I could not imagine building a business without building relationships and building a network. And for many people, it's not an intuitive conversation that they like to engage in, but it's critical that it happens. And we all hear stories about this is the way that business is conducted, and you're actually missing out if you're not networking and you don't build relationships and have access to decision makers who may very well be head of procurement after something that you need, or they can make an introduction, which we heard from Patricia. I think thinking of networking and building relationships, you never do it because it's about you. Networking, as we all know, when you build a relationship, you need to be authentic, and you need to take a genuine interest in what the person you are meeting is actually all about what their challenges are and how you can support and extend that support. So by the time that you actually need to ask for support, you've already built that relationship. We know that's the way business is done. We also hear very often that people like to buy from people they like, people they trust, and people that come referred, because at the end of the day, it's almost like it's comfortable. So my ask of so many of you out there that are running your own businesses, do not be afraid to knock on doors and do not underestimate the power of networking, because even having access to a large corporate comes with networking. Do I have time for a quick story?
Very quick story, because I want to throw out at least one question as well. Is there anybody who has a question? Maybe we'll get the microphone ready for you as well. Stick up your hand if you want to ask a question. Okay, good. So I'll let Lottie tell you her story, and then we'll go to the question.
No, please, let's go to the question.
Oh, okay, great.
I want to hear the story.
Oh, we'll hear the story after.
At the end.
All right.
My name is Dmitry Krylov. I'm Vice President at Gate.io, the crypto exchange. As we all know, unfortunately, the crypto space is not particularly friendly to women, with all that crypto bro culture and things like that. That, by the way, has nothing to do with the company I work for, because our deputy CEO is a woman, and probably like 60 to 65% of people who work at Gate.io.
It's okay. You're in a safe place. It's
Right.
okay.
But the question is, as successful women executives and women founders, is there any specific piece of advice you'd give to women who want to go to crypto and how they should go about it? Thank you.
Can I?
Yeah.
Actually, I do have a little tip. Well, I have two, and I'm going to actually pull Serena Sebastiani, who's a crypto legend, lady legend here. Stand up and give us a round of applause for Serena. Woo! And she's the best person to give you advice. But before she does, Thunder Games, it's a UAE startup. I think it's also woman-led. They've just launched a new app, Solitaire, and it's linked to NFTs and crypto and bitcoins, or not maybe bitcoins. If it was, we'd all be on it. But it's a nice consumable way, and it's based on Solitaire, and it's basically purely targeted at the women market, because women are on their mobiles. You have all these gaps when you're picking up the kids, when you're, all these kind of trip chaining things that you need to do, as well as do your job and do everything else that you have to do in your life to organize everybody else. So you have these moments of time where you can actually play solitaire and you can actually fill your wallet and make some money at the same time. So well done, Thunder Games, for that. Serena, what would you say to women trying to get into crypto?
Well, thank you. First of all, can I say I actually don't really agree that there are so many women into the crypto space. I actually see so many brilliant women around, and they're really like leading by example the crypto space. And we had a panel earlier with the CEO of Elliptics that we all know. She's a fantastic lady and a fantastic leader in the crypto space. What I would say is, crypto is where the fun is, right? I mean, we go up and down, but we are there to stay. And so if you want to have fun, regardless the gender, join crypto.
Woo!
Excellent. Who else has a
Thanks,
question?
Serena.
Thank you. Who else has a question? Stick your hand up, or if you want to say a point. We have 2 minutes. Anyone else have a question? Okay. If not, my lovely panel. I know, Lottie, you've already given your ask, but Trish, what would you like to ask of our beautiful audience today?
So there was something I didn't say earlier when we were talking about investing, and that's actually about women getting into investing. We, as women, probably aren't as savvy about investing our wealth. We keep our money in savings accounts, and we put off making decisions because we're so busy, as I said, not just doing our careers, but doing everything else that we have to do in our lives. But we really are doing ourselves a disservice. There's a huge pension gap coming up, towards the end of our lives, and we need to be doing more with our money. But the problems are the same as with men. Our social circles we're not surrounded by people who are having these normal conversations about, what startup did you invest in? What crypto did you invest in? So look for different social circles. We need to educate ourselves. We're all highly educated, well-paid, people. So we can easily find these avenues, and one of the things that I'm part of is 2022 Female Angels, and for anybody that hasn't heard about it, it's trying to diversify the early stage investment landscape. It's a voluntary movement, but we're providing education, we're providing networking opportunities, and in Q1 2023 we're actually going to be launching our first syndicated fund with the 300 women that have actually joined the community.
That's
So
amazing.
if
Sorry.
you're interested, 2022femaleangels.com.
Perfect. Salwa, you've got 30 seconds. Tell the audience what you would like from them. Sorry, I'm mean.
Oh, yeah. I think my major ask is really, if there is investor here or you click for investors, tell them that we need their investment for a deep tech. If there is a woman there, going to that actually journey in a deep tech, it should be even further supported. It is, if you're really supporting innovation and you want to create a new market segment, new job opportunities, we need to put some monies in a deep tech. And thank you very much.
Sorry, can I have one more, just very quick? Are there any investors here? Hi. Would you like to have a conversation with Salwa about an amazing deep tech company that's going to transform the world and make you loads of money? You should totally talk to her after this.
Everyone go talk to Salwa. Okay, thank you everyone so much for listening to our panel session. I hope that we've shown you that not only investing in women-founded businesses is the right thing to do, it also makes good business sense, right? It's going to give you a great return on investment. So thank you very much for your time today, and thank you to my beautiful panel and to ADGM for hosting us. Thanks so much.
Thank you.